Wes Matthews had just rebounded a Bojan Bogdanovic miss and put it in at the buzzer. Indiana had preceded a tough Western road trip with a 108-106 home win over Oklahoma City, and the Pacers were believers. In their race to keep hold of the Eastern Conference's third seed, they had a win over a tough playoff team. It didn't hurt that they beat Paul George, too. Ever since All-Star break, all games have been significant, because we've been fighting for seeding, said Thaddeus Young. Playoff positioning. We want to have home court advantage, and to keep that we have to keep winning games. The tough schedule we have ahead, have to be ready. Road losses to Denver, Portland, the Clippers and Golden State by 23 points, followed. They play the Nuggets at home Sunday, fly to Oklahoma City on Wednesday, and then comes Friday in Boston. A tough swing, jumping from the revenge-hungry Thunder to a Celtics team fighting them for the fourth playoff seed. They play the Celtics twice in an 8-day span. Pay close attention to the matchups. You'll see them again in the first round of the playoffs. So the question of ordering a grilled ribeye at St. Elmo's is a matter of when, games 1 and 2, or a little later if the Celtics win out in this process. But if Indiana's current pattern holds, the Celtics will catch them in free fall, which is sad, considering that Indiana was a great resiliency story earlier this season. After initially caving in the immediate wake of Victor Oladipo's season-ending quad tendon tear on Jan. 23, they lost 4 straight games following the injury. The Pacers rebounded in a big way. They won 8 of their next 9 games, albeit against mediocre teams, with a retooled lineup that somehow made up for the loss of a great scorer. They added Matthews midway through the streak, and the veteran shooter made that move pay off. This team fights, it's one of the big reasons why I chose to come here, he said. We fight, we compete, no let is too much, we continue to work, continue to grind and chip away. That grind comes to Boston on Friday, kicking off one of the most intriguing weeks of the season for both sides. Long way to go. Isaiah Thomas's return to the Garden last Monday was a painful reminder of how far the Nuggets guard may have to go, likely with another team this summer, if he is to regain something approaching his old form. Thomas has bristled in the past at suggestions he's best suited to a sixth-man role. Those energetic scoring bursts seem more tailored than ever to coming off someone's bench, but creeping age and the slow nature of his recovery may be enough to change his mind. It all comes down to the situation, the type of team he's on, if it's an up-and-coming team or a team going for the championship, said Al Horford. For him, I'm sure he'll have to readjust a little bit because of the way he plays. Horford's not suggesting that Thomas is ready for a more complementary role, or even suggesting that's a logical path. It just depends on the situation he's in, to be honest. As long as he's feeling healthy he can still be a starting point guard, said Horford. But if he's on a team that requires him to come off the bench and be effective that way, he can do that as well. At the same time, Horford understands how pride can get in the way of a role. I think it can be harder, after being something, or having success at something, it's hard to go back and accept something else, he said. Celtics timeline Sunday, 7:30 p.m. versus San Antonio. This season's Coach of the Year conversation is as varied as ever, from the Clippers' Doc Rivers to Indiana's Nate McMillan to Milwaukee's Mike Budenholzer. Funny how, as always, Greg Popovich's mastery is taken for granted. The Spurs have moved on to a new era, and while some franchises rebuild, Pop's team is in the thick of a logjam that occupies the final 4 playoff seeds of the Western Conference. It may be his greatest coaching job, and that's something the Celtics truly have to worry about today. Tuesday, 7 at Cleveland. Regardless of their need to nail down that 4th seed, and thus home court in the first round, the Celtics have certain rest stops planned for those who require a break. Pencil this one in for Kyrie Irving, who hasn't played a game in his former city since opening night of the 2017-18 season. Friday, 7 versus Indiana, the first of 2 games the Celtics play against the Pacers in an 8-day span, and of absolute importance from a seeding perspective. It looks increasingly like Indiana, a fading team, is going to be their first-round opponent. Now's the time to make sure the series starts in Boston. Saturday, 6 at Brooklyn. If the Celtics are, as Irving says, in need of developing consistency more than playing for seeding, then this is an important date. The Nets are one of this season's surprise playoff contenders, and an energetic young group that has alternately given the Celtics trouble and flopped.